In the Moonland Forest, the hierarchy of survival is dictated by scale and strength. A tiger occupies the role of the apex predator, while a wolf is traditionally a mid-tier hunter, physically incapable of challenging the forest's absolute authority in a direct confrontation. This established order was upended when Kalu, a lone wolf, walked into the royal assembly. He did not ask for a territory. He demanded a duel for the throne itself, standing face to face with the Tiger King. The encounter ended almost as soon as it began. The force of the impact was enough to throw the tiger backward, and a flurry of strikes followed that the larger cats simply could not track or parry. With the king bloodied and retreating into permanent exile, Kalu ascended the throne, declaring himself the new sovereign of a territory he should have had no hope of conquering. The predictable patterns of the forest had been replaced by a new, violent uncertainty. A scavenger now sat where a king once stood. Rule under Kalu was defined by a single draconian mandate. The forest must provide him with one live animal every 24 hours, delivered directly to the outskirts of his territory. This chart tracks the impact of that daily sacrifice. The blue line represents the local population density, while the rising red line shows the intensity of predation pressure. The intersection marks the point where replenishment could no longer keep pace with Kalu's demands. This wasn't just about hunger. It was a demonstration of absolute leverage. The animals lived in a state of constant calculation, wondering whose turn was next, while the forest fell silent around them. This level of dominance required an explanation. A wolf's biology doesn't allow for the crushing power Kalu displayed during the coup, power closer to a large feline than a canine. Miles away from the terror of the assembly, the exiled Tiger King found refuge in a secluded flower garden. It was here that he encountered the Blue Fairy, one of the original architects of the forest's safety. The tiger described the fight in detail, specifically noting that Kalu's strikes possessed a heavy, crushing weight, a brute force that felt entirely alien to the wolf's physical frame. This specific detail allowed the fairy to identify the source. That particular aura of strength matched the red demon, a prehistoric threat they had long ago sealed inside a high-security cavern. Kalu's rise wasn't an evolutionary fluke. He had found a way to bypass the magical quarantine, allowing an ancient evil to begin influencing the forest once again. The breach began when Kalu was rejected by the tiger after a minor act of bravery. Driven by a desire for status he hadn't earned, the wolf sought out the one power in the forest that didn't care about the natural order. He traveled to the Forbidden Cave and negotiated directly with the Red Demon, offering a partnership that would trade the forest's lives for personal power. This was a parasitic power transfer. As the diagram shows, the system required a biometric input, the daily sacrifices, which the demon processed to generate a raw energy output. The terms were precise. Kalu had to deliver 10 animals over 10 days. Each sacrifice acted as a hammer blow against the cavern's seal. Once the 10th animal was consumed, the seal would shatter entirely. During this process, the wolf acted as a conduit. He was permitted to siphon off a fraction of that energy, granting him the temporary artificial strength required to keep the forest in check while the demon worked on its escape. The fairy and the tiger watched from a hidden vantage point as Kalu arrived at the cave mouth with a dead rabbit, fulfilling the 8th day of his grim contract. Kalu was effectively a biological P. If he delivered 2 more sacrifices, the demon would be free, and the wolf's borrowed reign would become the forest's permanent nightmare. The Tiger King returned to the assembly on the 9th day, forcing Kalu into a public confrontation before the final stage of the deal could be completed. Kalu charged with the same reckless confidence, the demon's red aura visible around his frame. But as he lunged, the glow flickered and faded. The fairy timed her move for Kalu's highest vulnerability, focusing her magic on the connection between the cave and the wolf. She didn't attack the wolf directly, she simply cut the tether that fed him his strength. The change was visible in Kalu's eyes, as his muscles suddenly lost their unnatural mass. The tiger stood his ground, and with a single measured strike, sent the powerless wolf tumbling. The illusion of the wolf's superiority vanished. Without the demon's hidden support, Kalu's authority had no physical basis to stand on. Kalu immediately surrendered, realizing that the power he had gambled for was never truly his. He was a disposable tool in a much larger, more dangerous game. To prevent another breach, the fairy forged this magically reinforced door directly into the mountain. It serves as a permanent seal, ensuring that the exploit Kalu discovered is closed for good. Stability returned to Moonland. The crisis proved that authority built on exploitation is brittle, and true power must be earned through balance in the system.